Hello everyone and welcome to the first video of the class. This course is HTP 1105 Critical Analysis Reading and Writing Academic Works. Alright, so sorry about the shadows and whatnot. I hope you can read everything well enough. I'll probably get some better lighting instruments in the near future, but for now we'll have to deal a little bit with the shadows. Today's lecture is going to be out of the book Inference and Persuasion. Book that looks like so, but you didn't have to purchase it. Have a look at the links page that I put up on Brightspace, and you can find the section that I wanted you to read for this lecture, chapter 1, pages 1 to 11. Now, what we're going to be talking about at the beginning of the course, because it is a course on critical analysis, reading and writing, I want to start off with some real basics in philosophy. And these basics in philosophy are important for you to become a better reader, a better analyst of works, and then ultimately, of course, a better writer. So what I want to do is give you some of the tools for reading these texts, analyzing them, and then being able to write an academic text yourself. And so we'll talk more about what all that means as we get going. But in the meantime, let's start with arguably one of the main figures in the foundations of Western thought, and that is Socrates. We'll meet Socrates in more detail later, but this guy is responsible in many ways for one thing that philosophers often talk about, and one thing that you should really learn is nature of definitions. Right? Definitions are extremely important in philosophy and in academia and academic writing in general. So Socrates was a real stickler for these things, and what he always did in dialogues, and we'll read one of Plato's dialogues with Socrates as the main figure in a bit, but Socrates was always asking people to define their terms. And if you'll notice, in a lot of conversations, when people are discussing and not agreeing and having problems communicating, a lot of the times it's because the terms that are being used might be the same word, but it's used differently or with different shades of meaning, or as the argument and discussion goes along, the meaning of the word slightly changes, and that can cause all kinds of problems. So what I want to do is talk a little bit from the beginning of the nature of definitions. Right? Now, we could spend a lot of time on this, but what we're trying to do is start off our discussion by providing good and clear definitions. Can we have perfect clarity? Probably not, but of course that doesn't mean that we shouldn't strive for it. So in this course, when I introduce new terms, I will be very careful to provide you with as good of a definition and as clear of one as I can. Now, in critical analysis, reading and writing these academic works, you're going to encounter quite commonly, and they'll look different, but they're basically what we call an argument. So that's our first term to think about, is the term argument. And let's get a little bit clearer on what this means. First off, in the ordinary sense, we use argument interchangeably with a quarrel, or they were arguing, they were quarreling, or they were arguing, they were discussing. So argument and arguing and to argue in the everyday use of that term, which is fine, that's not what we're doing here, but nonetheless it's fine to use argument, arguing in the sense of quarreling, debating, discussion, conversation, etc., etc. No problem there. That's not the way we're going to use it in the course. We're going to be thinking of it philosophically and academically. In other words, think of it when you say someone made the argument for something. That can be a monologue, and basically it is, right? So in that sense, an argument is more or less like a kind of structure, and we'll look a little bit in more detail as to what that is. But for now, it is not a discussion or or a quarrel. Okay? So it's not a discussion or a quarrel in any sense. That's not what we're doing here. Rather, an argument should be thought of as something like, as I said, a structure. Now that sounds a little odd. What do you mean by a structure? Well, let's have a little look at what I mean by a structure.